One of the foundations of being friends with our own mind is to be able to work effectively with our thoughts, with our responses to our thoughts, and with the energy and sensations in our body that are stimulated by our thoughts. Let's work with images. One of the ways that we remind ourselves that we're not in a situation is that we take a step back and see if we could see ourselves. You're a child, some of the other people in your family are in the kitchen, and if what you see is as though you're looking out of your own eyes, then it feels a lot more real than if you take a step back and see yourself in the picture. It feels more real to look at something out of your own eyes because it more closely matches the experience you had at that time than it does to take a step back and also see yourself in the image. We can get quite detailed in our noticing. Notice your hair, your clothes, what was around you, the body language of you and the other people, what was being said, what was going on in that. If it's a clip, like a picture, or if it's a video, it can give us that feeling of we're right back there. So the first thing to do is take a step back, notice that you're looking at an image, and that you can see yourself in the image, in the scene. You could put a frame around it. This is a way to take another step back. The first step is from our own eyes. The second step is we're seeing ourselves in the picture. And then a third step back is to put a frame around the image that we're looking at. If you're looking at a video clip, you could imagine your laptop screen. If you're looking at a still picture, you could put a frame around it. Notice that these are colors and shapes that you're looking at, and then your brain is interpreting them. You're actually not back in that situation right now. You're remembering it. If something is quite intense, it's very helpful to have your eyes open. I've done a lot of eyes open work around traumatic memories because when I have my eyes open, I can see there's other things in the room. I can see it on the window or on the wall. I can notice the space between me and the image. I can notice there's space all around the image. It's another effective way just to let our body and our brain know that we're not actually in the situation right now. We're looking at a memory, an image of it. The outside of an image is empty space. If you have a frame around it, it makes it a little bit easier to see that. If you have your eyes open and it's on the wall, it makes it a bit easier to see that too. You can notice all that space between you and it. You can notice the space around it. And then one of the ways that we would work with an image that seems to have a lot of power to it, seems to have some kind of intensity. Maybe we're feeling an energy or a sensation in our body as we're looking at it. We would notice there's space all around the edge of the image. If we have a lot of images coming up, we could make a collage. Remember collages? We used to put all those pictures, cut them out of magazines, put them up on a poster board. You can do the same thing in your mind. Really just notice there are a bunch of images. There might be some captions on them, some words. Put them all up in your mind's eye. Put them up on the wall in front of you and have a look at them all together. So sometimes there's one image that's quite compelling and we'll work with that one on its own. Other times there's a whole bunch of words and images and we just make a collage of them and we work on them that way. Put a frame around the outside of that. So now we have an image or a collection of images. We have a frame and we have space around the outside edges. So now bring your eyes up to the top and now we take our attention away from the picture and we put it into just the space on the outside edges. And then take your eyes around that space clockwise a few times. Take your time with it. And then from the top, turn in the other direction. Take your eyes around the empty space counterclockwise a few times. And then come back to the center and look at the image again. Notice what your response is now. Is it still as intense? Does it feel as compelling as it did? You can do that 2 or 3 times if you like. You don't have to limit yourself to one. All of these are ways to help our brain know that we're looking at an image. It's not something that's happening to us right now. Another effective way to work with images or visual representations of words or sounds of words is to work with tapping. There are many ways that people work with tapping, often called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. There's a very simple one. You take your index finger and middle finger on one hand. You bring it up to your forehead between the eyebrows, just a little bit above the eyebrows, and start tapping. You start by looking at the picture, and then you bring your hand up, and you start tapping on that point between your eyebrows. And as soon as you start to tap, transfer your attention away from the sound or away from the images, and just focus on the sensation of the tapping and on the sound of the tapping. We can feel it on the skin. And then you could do that 1 or 2 times, and then bring your hand down and listen to the sound, or look at the picture or the words again, and notice your experience now with it. And you could do that several times with the same image or with different ones. It's a way that we disconnect some of the energy. We start to undo some of the Velcro between sensations in our body and the sounds, the images of the words, and the thoughts that we have. What really generates a lot of intensity is when we have energy or sensations in our body in response to the thoughts. Or we might have energy or sensations in our body that we become aware of, and then when we start to really pay attention to them, we notice then that there are thoughts that are linked to them or velcroed to them. One of the ways that we can work with this to make it safer to come into our body and really notice what's happening is we can do a regular practice of relaxation and breathing so that we get to know our body a little bit more. Before I started meditating, my body wasn't really a known space. I had a lot of thoughts going on in the mind. They were very compelling, and that's where most of my attention was. And I found that that's the same for a lot of people. So inhabiting your body, really getting to be familiar in your own body, is a really good practice to do at the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's always a good practice to do that. We start to do a mindfulness practice around thought. So right now, if you were to close your eyes and just watch what comes up in your thought stream. Might be images or words. There might be a thought of, oh, there's nothing happening here right now. Let's watch it for about another 30 seconds and see what happens. Thoughts come, they go, and some generate a response. I've noticed that most people reach a tipping point where they suddenly know in every cell of their body that they don't have to be afraid of the energy in their own body, and that it's okay and it's actually welcome to be here so that we can pay attention to it. When we experience being hurt or when we're in danger when we're younger, we don't have the capacity or the tools or the resources to stay present with it. That's what gets stored in our bodies. That's what's in this energy, what's in that sensation in your gut, or what's behind the back, in the shoulders and the upper back, that contraction, that defense energy. This is our own body. We need to be able to be inside our body and to know what's happening there, to not defend ourselves against our own body. That's an automatic process that happens for people until it doesn't. That's what these practices can allow us to do, to give us the comfort to stay present and the confidence to stay present with our own experience. And it's only through that that we start to heal it. When a sensation or feelings or energy are present in our body, we learn how to stay with it. Our window of tolerance for discomfort widens. We learn through experience that we can stay present with even very painful sensations or energies. Even if there's a lot of thought with them, we can peel apart the 3 elements, the words, the images, and the sensations. And as we do that, the Velcro releases. We're able to just stay with the feeling, the sensations until they go. We learn from experience that no sensations are here forever. They don't take up all of the space. Even if something feels like it's an overall body feeling, it doesn't go into the next room. There's a very limited space in which we feel sensation. Many sensations, we feel them in a certain part of our body. So we might have a knot in our gut, but we don't feel it up into the throat. We don't feel it in our elbows. There are sensations, and then there's space around the sensations. And there's time, space as well. Sensations are not here forever. Even if they feel like they're persistent and familiar, we don't feel them all the time. They come and they go, just like thoughts do. By beginning to watch our relationship with thoughts that come and go, the energy that gets stimulated by those in response, we're able to depersonalize our experience and our relationship with thoughts. We get to see that not all thoughts are worthy of following. We don't have to follow catastrophic thoughts. we can notice them and stop right there and go, okay, I can see that's a thought I've had a lot of times before. It's not helpful for me. When that happens, I just scare myself by continuing to go down that road. The second I stop, I'm able to have a different outcome there. We can go into the body, we can work with our breath, we can change our relationship. The other element that we always need to be bringing into everything that we're working with ourselves is kindness and compassion. We might see that we're deep into suffering. Even if we can't stop the identification with the thought, even if it feels so compelling we can't imagine we didn't have that anymore, at least could we acknowledge that we're suffering and have some compassion for ourselves. Just because of that, even without fixing it, can we have compassion for ourselves anyway?